Alright guys, Paul Martin Belts back here again with a brand new video. This is going to be a detailed review and look at the Jeff Hardy Immortal replica belt. Right off the bat, I gotta be honest, I didn't know there was a replica belt of this until someone contacted me to re-leather this for them. This is a customer's belt, I'm going to be re-leathering it, so there will be a video in the coming weeks of this on a real leather strap, but I thought I'd review the belt as standard initially. Yeah, so I didn't actually know there was copies of this made in replica form, so I was quite surprised to hear when he wanted to send me it. So I'm going to do a review of this belt. It is not TNA branded, so it has no TNA logos on it. I believe the real belt had a logo on the top of the head here and along the top of the outer side plates. It doesn't have those, so this is like an independently made replica belt. I'll start off with the leather strap, well, the simulated leather strap, and I've got to be honest, it is atrocious. I believe this was made by the same place that makes the TNA replica belts, and if you've ever owned one of those, you will know what I'm talking about. It doesn't have a patch on the back to say who made it, but I've actually got a TNA version 1 strap here for comparison, which is made of the exact same materials. The details are very similar, so I'm assuming it was made by the same company, which is Premium Replica Belts, because that has the patch on the back here. So I can only assume it was made by Premium Replica Belts. If that is not the case, obviously that's my mistake, but because these straps are literally identical in feel, the detail, the back, I got to assume. And like I said, if you've ever owned this version of the TNA belt, which is the original Midwest one, like the one that Kurt Angle held, etc., or the later one, the Wildcat version, you will know how bad these straps are. Just for example, any point where the strap bends, it would crack, as you can see there. That's the inside of the strap showing. Similarly, I think this one is cracked on the other side as well. And funnily enough, this is actually one of the better conditioned ones I've seen. I was trying to find one of the old ones I had in my workshop just from a past re-leather, because I remember all these areas between the plates would crack as well. So if you're ever thinking of buying one of these Jeff Hardy belts, just be aware that the strap on it is going to be atrocious, so it will probably need re-leathered. I believe this one has a little bit of cracking, as you can see at the bottom there. I mean, putting this belt up on display is going to be a bit difficult with the point there. Yeah, and it's starting to crack at the areas. This actually looks like a brand new belt, to be fair, so that's just a word of warning I wanted to give initially for anyone that wouldn't have been aware. Going on to the strap itself, the detail is really nice, same with the TNA straps. The imitation tooling looks fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that at all, it's just the material used is completely wrong. The strap, weirdly enough, does feature the Top Rope Belts stamp here, like an imitation stamp, which I'm not too sure if this is actually produced by Top Rope Belts then. I'm not familiar enough with any of the details there to know, but yeah. So as the stamp, Top Rope Belts did make the original belt for Jeff Hardy, so I'm assuming they probably get maybe a cut of the profits because this is their design. Not sure. Just speculation there. The cut of the leather, same with the TNA belts, was always a bit inconsistent. As you can see, it doesn't flow correctly. You can see this plate is screwed in, lined up perfectly, but the top of the strap there is completely uneven. Same down here, these cutout areas, completely different. It's same with the TNA belts. They were always very inconsistent with the way the plates were put on the belts, the way the strap was kind of cut. It never really flowed correctly, so there's a few errors really there. But as far as the detail on the strap goes, very good. Can't complain about that. It looks like tooling should look, but this belt, especially for display, if it was sitting up like that, you can obviously tell that's going to cause a lot of strain on the strap there. We'll move over onto the back. Right, like I said, there is no patch here, which is why I can only assume it's made by the company Premium Belts, but again, I can't confirm that, but the strap feels identical. Same material, same stamping, same exact everything, so that's my assumption. This belt does have quite a lot of screws, 4 on each side plate and 11, I think, 11 on the center plate. But weirdly enough, they're positioned badly. I mean, their positioning doesn't match up from side to side, and the most obvious ones are the 3 in the middle. They just seem to be randomly put in place. But what I mean where they don't line up is this is a different part of the belt to this. If they were lined up correctly, this would be there and that would be probably about here. So On the back of the plates, it'll be more obvious. I'll show some photos maybe when I unscrew this belt, so the back of the plate, so you can see what I mean. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I'm not exactly sure how stable that is. But one thing, if you've owned the TNA belts or any of these screws loose, this one is actually, so I'll take this one off. If you ever owned the TNA belts, one of the biggest problems other than the strap, I think most people would agree, is the screws themselves. These are awful. We've got Figures Inc. screws that make the WWE belts. Figures Inc. actually have good quality screws that rarely break. These things broke all the time. Because as you can see at the bottom of the screw itself, it's actually a lot thinner than the thread. This meant when you tighten the screw in too much, it would break. I can't tell you how many TNA belts I have re-leathered that have broken screws, and I'm not just talking one or two. Sometimes it's over half of the screws on the belt itself are broken. So I don't know, you've got to be careful when handling belts made by this company. I'm trying to focus the camera, it's not wanting to. There we go, it's starting to, there we go, sorry about that. Yeah, I got to be honest, I'll leave that just out of the way for now. When handling belts made by this premium belts, you got to be careful, because especially on the TNA belts, those were very heavy. This is actually quite a light belt, so I don't think the issue is as prominent on this belt, but just again, be careful. Onto the plates themselves. They're about 3 millimeters thick, each of them. That's probably the best shot. They're about 3 mil thick. They're not exactly as thick as real belts, which are normally 4 to 5 millimeters thick, but they're pretty good. They have a good amount of detail. You can see they're more stamped like the old style replica belts than the newer casted replica belts, so the details aren't exactly there. On the real belt, the plates actually had like horizontal lines all over the place. I'm talking in here, everything that's silver around the blue paint had etched horizontal lines, so those aren't actually on this belt, which does retract from the kind of overall appearance of the belt, to be honest. It's not exactly as close as you'd probably want it to be. Yeah, the real belt itself also had this face on the center plate was a raised piece, so it was stacked. So everything around the kind of chin area here, the tunnels in the ears, up to here was all a stacked piece, which meant it was an extra plate added on top. Again, this is a single plate. So yeah, you can see most of the details are just stamped in, but I'm not trying to take away from the belt. It does actually still look pretty good. You can see Jeff Hardy's face there. You can see his signature down here. The detail for stamped belts, they're better than the old WWE stamped belts. Like, I'm talking, what, mid-2000s? I think most of us can remember those. So we're talking like classic Big Gold, the Undisputed, all those belts when they were stamped. So the details are slightly sharper than those belts, but as far as being a modern belt, a modern replica belt, it doesn't really match up to the current WWE belts or the TNA belts that had previously been made, because those details on those belts were always, the plates themselves were very good. You can see Jeff's face again. This is kind of mirrored, whereas the left side is painted on this, the right side is on this side. And we got kind of a blue whatever that is supposed to be. I'm honestly not sure. Never been the most familiar with this belt, so a lot of this will just be speculation and guesswork. And onto the center plate. Again, this is probably one of the most this and the spinner belt are probably the two most controversial belts I've ever seen, like, online. When this first came out, it was madness, people going crazy over this thing. You either loved it or you hated it, and most people hated it. I think I hated it at first, but having this in person, and I've got a homemade one that I made probably a decade ago or however long ago, so it kind of grew on me. I don't mind it at all anymore. But like I say, the detail lacking the horizontal lines really, I think, does take away from it, because all you've got there is just a bare plate. You can see pretty much the reflection of my camera there. Whereas the horizontal lines, when you would put it to the light like that, they would sparkle, they would catch the light, they would really just shine really nicely. And it wasn't just on the center plate, it was on the side plates as well, they had it. So I'll put up some images of the real belt to kind of show what I'm talking about. But yeah, the plates themselves, I have to say, the way this has been cut, these points are all really sharp. I mean, if you swing this belt onto your shoulder or something, which again I don't recommend because the screws on the back are so weak, if you swing it onto your shoulder and you catch it wrong, that is legitimately going to cut you. Like, I can feel that on my finger. It's almost sharp, and there is a lot of points on this center plate especially. There's a lot of sharp points, so just something to be careful of. I thought they would have maybe sanded them down a little bit more, but yeah, seems like an injury waiting to happen. The detail on the face is actually quite good. The painting itself is a little bit inconsistent as well, to be honest. There's a few areas, especially these thin lines on the face, the paint kind of overruns and you can see dots of paint spattered around a bit. I'm honestly not trying to rag on this belt really, because I'm impressed. I didn't know this was a replica belt available, and it's quite cool. It is a smart piece to have in a collection, but I'm wanting to make people aware in case they're looking to buy this. Not that I know actually where you can buy this, because like I said, I didn't know didn't know it existed, but I'm trying to point out some things just so you're aware. There's more paint here, and something I've noticed actually, this area here, if you look at this area while I tip the belt up there, you can see there's kind of a dent in it. That's actually where the screw is on the back. So the plate's actually that thin that when the screw on the back was attached, it's almost dented. It's dented the front of the plate. Actually, you can see it up here as well. All the areas here now as well, I've spotted. All the areas where the screws are on have almost damaged the front of the belt. Look, well, I don't want to say damaged, they've dented it. So I'm just trying to make you aware, like I said. Yeah, it's an interesting belt. I got to say it's a fingerprint magnet as well because of it being pretty much just a mirrored plate. So fingerprints, it's very susceptible to that. Yeah, so, like I said, that's where the screws are. So it seems to affect the front of the plates, the attachment of the screws. So it's an interesting belt. Yeah, so let me know what you think of this. Again, I'm curious to know. I'm speculating it was made by Premium Belts. It's my assumption because the quality of the strap looks identical. The strap, if not the plates, the strap was definitely made by that place. That's what I should say actually. The plates, who knows, because they're different to the old TNA belt plates. So that's kind of an epiphany I've had at the end of this video. But yeah, let me know what you think of this. Does it match up to the quality of, obviously not the real belt, but should it be better? Do you think it's good? Do you like the design? I think I know where that question's gonna go. But yeah, let me know what you think. Comment down below. Like I said, there'll be a video of this coming up in the coming weeks of it on a real leather strap. Again, that's gonna be purple, just like the real belt. So yeah, it'll look pretty good, I think. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing this video. I'm curious to hear some people's thoughts about this belt. Let me know in the comment section below. Please give a subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give it a thumbs up as well. Thank you, goodbye.